Kia ora, g'day. Welcome back once again here with part 7 of my reaction to Mr. Sam Bamford, host of the Two Worlds Collide podcast, interviewing his guest, Mr. Scott Jones. And as always, this video proudly not sponsored by Waimanuka. Joe Harawira and the team, Waimanuka bottles and stuff there. Get yourself some, check them out. Anyway, let's jump back into this.
According to Person 81, the then CEO of the SASR, he says there was no one inside there. People were clearing tunnels and whatnot, and there's speculation about who was doing what and what was found in the compound. But at the end of the day, there was an engagement outside of the compound, and a colonel said, "Nah, that was legit. Like nothing happened inside the compound. There's no insurgents in there. Blah 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 blah."
So the fabrication of the story that you're telling us right now is a lie.
Well, yeah, according to many people that were there, and I'm just a journalist. I'm just an investigative journalist listening to the trial, listening to the testimony, and I was like, well, there's definitely conflict here. One dude saying he saw Ben machine gun a dude to death. The CEO of that unit is like, no, that did not happen at all.
Man, that's a massive conflict. A commanding officer, the highest rank within the regiment, saying that didn't happen. But Comova Bazenko and Hemorrhoid Head 27, along with many other people, Hemorrhoid isn't on his own here, believe that all the witnesses, however many there were, the witnesses in the defamation case against RS, which has a lower burden of evidence or proof that needs to be shown, the judge somehow believes them and doesn't believe the commanding officer of the regiment, doesn't believe the other multiple operators that were on the ground as well as part of RS's witnesses speaking on his behalf. It's crazy to me. Clearly, like Scott Jones is saying, who was there, I presume, for large parts of the trial, is outlining that there's clearly contradictory evidence being presented to the judge. So again, my comment is in and around having one individual. So that's why I've always said I hope this goes to trial. Like either way, if it doesn't go to trial because there's no chance of RS getting a fair trial, which is probably due to the media, but if it does go to trial, I think you're going to have, I'd like to think you've got 12 different perspectives of the jury versus one person. In this case, Comova Bazenko, regardless of however experienced he is as a judge. He's one person. It's a lower burden of proof, criminal trial, a jury of his peers, of RS's peers. Well, I guess just members of the public, really, I suppose. And they are going to have different thoughts. They've got to prove beyond, the prosecution has to prove beyond reasonable doubt that RS is guilty of 5 counts of war crimes murder, or even just one, let alone 5 counts of war crimes murder. It's going to be interesting. I haven't heard anything so far, and again, that's probably largely my bias coming into play, but I haven't heard anything at any stage that screams to me that beyond reasonable doubt, that's what RS did. That's just me at this stage. Like, it's all speculation, it's all allegations, it's all balance of probabilities, which doesn't equal a guilty verdict from a war crimes perspective, and it's a lower burden of proof required for the balance of probabilities, unlike a criminal trial, which has a much higher threshold in terms of what the evidence needs to show beyond reasonable doubt. Anyway.
And everyone else is saying, no, that didn't happen. The dude was running away from the compound, and the boys in the cordon saw him and shot him, and he ended up being an elderly male with obviously couldn't run very fast. He had a prosthetic leg.
But also at the end of the day, there was that fierce of a gunfire happening that 7 RAR had to call in the SAS. The SAS dropped a bomb. So whoever is in that compound, they were dangerous.
No, they were innocent civilians. Everyone in that compound was an innocent civilian.
You can't tell me after sitting there for a couple of hours.
And then if that's the case, if everyone in the compound is an innocent civilian, sarcasm, which I'm sure is what Scott Jones is talking about, but for those Muppets out there, if everyone in the compound is an innocent civilian, who was the person that called in the bomb? Who dropped the bomb, the JDAM, onto that compound? Are they a war criminal? Are they the person that's to blame for the deaths of these people, of these innocent civilians? Like, just make this stuff make sense. It's crazy to me. That compound was a recognized and called out threat by the 7 RAR lads who were tactically withdrawing in labs, I think I heard Scott Jones say earlier in the other reaction, they were fearful that they were going to be overrun, that the people in this compound were going to somehow chase them and take them out and do whatever. So much so that they called for support, backup, and help from the regiment. And the regiment just happened to be in the vicinity and said, yeah, sure thing. Crazy.
Hours. I don't want to, I don't want to downgrade it 7-hour at all, but they were fighting back pretty intensively. So they had to call the SAS. The SAS came in, dropped the bomb, and whoever was down there was a bad.
No doubt 7RAR, with all due respect to them, I've never worked with them, but they must have been under the pump. It doesn't matter who you are. 6RAR, 4RAR, 3RAR, Lincoln, 2RAR, 1RAR, whatever. If you are under the pump and you are feeling like this is going really bad, we need support ASAP, then that's what you do. The regiment would do the same. If you need help and support, the commandos would do the same. Then that's what you do. You call for the support and the help. That's why you're there as a coalition force, to help and support each other, to back each other up. Like, nobody's going to be saying, oh, they're useless. Nobody in their right mind would be saying that 7RAR is useless, or whoever it was that called up the regiment for help. Like, they did what they were supposed to do, and they fought hard and for as long as they could without calling for support, I imagine, until such time whereas whoever was in charge made a tactical decision based on what he was seeing, based on what he was feeling, based on what potentially could happen. And that decision to call for support and help was likely made with the best interests, not only from a strategic tactical perspective, but from a human perspective, to look after their soldiers, the people under their command. And the regiment was there. And they're like, of course, we're going to come and help.
Guy. Yeah. It's like, okay, people. So now the story's changed, right? And then this witness 19, you say?
18, I believe.
Yeah, so witness 18 said that supposedly he dropped someone with a limp.
Yeah.
But then he was saying that someone else was saying that Ben dropped someone with a limp.
Yeah. So it's all very confusing. It's all.
And then the CEO of the unit or the OC, whatever he is, came out and said, no, well, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Not that way.
Yeah, very odd. And then they extracted, and the AAR, this is 2009.
So this is one of the murder incidents.
This is one of the murders why Ben's in jail right now in Silverwater.
To me, it sounds like a fabricated lie.
Yeah, to me it does too. And I know people that were there, and they're highly regarded. And when you picture an SAS dude, these are the dude on Ben's side. When you listen to them talk, you'll hear the difference between the dude on 60 Minutes and some of the boys when they're having a yarn at the pub. You can tell the difference. You can tell who were the hitters and who weren't. And that's just the reality. So that's one allegation. So now let's.
And some people may not like what Scott Jones has just said. Some people are like, oh, that's a load of rubbish. The guy's on, like old Hammerhead 27, believes wholeheartedly that those cowards, those pissweak cowards on the 60 Minutes documentary who have their faces covered, who secretly went and met with the media, who broke the rules of the military in general and the regiment, believes that they are courageous, even though they did it years later down the track. No, they're not. They're trucking cowards. They're pissweak, and they're useless pricks. Like, I have so much so that they did nothing about it back then, if the allegations are even true, and so much so that they don't even want to take responsibility. If they feel so bad about it, if they believe that it was so wrong, which they've spoken about on this 60 Minutes documentary talking to their boyfriend Dick McKenzie, then why aren't they putting up their hand to take ownership for their part, for doing sweet truckle and just wanting to point the finger? They keep saying they thought they were above the law. They thought it was just about getting the kill counts up. They thought this, they thought that. Then next minute, when their boyfriend asks them, so who are you talking about particularly or specifically? Then they go, Ben Robert Smith. Gutless cowards. Stay in the shadows, mate. You bloody useless ball bags.
Fast forward to 2012.
Okay, well, just before we start, so that first allegation, beyond reasonable doubt, there's a lot of doubt there for me.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, that gets thrown out.
Yeah. Well, the JTAC and pilot.
Especially with no body, no name. There's no forensics. There's no bullet casings. There's nothing. There is nothing. And you have the CEO of the unit saying it never happened.
And when they...
All you've got is one of the persons, I think it's person 24, pointing the finger and saying that RS executed somebody with a machine gun and did it publicly within that compound. And then you've got a whole bunch of other people. Aside from person 24, I haven't heard anybody else say, that's what he did. But then you've got the commanding officer and other members that were there on the ground that day who all said, no, that didn't happen. We never saw that happen. So beyond reasonable doubt, if there's a jury listening to that, and if that's 1 out of the 5, that one, like Sam is rightly pointing out, that one to me gets an automatic, well, there's no beyond reasonable doubt there. There's just too much conflicting evidence. And if anything, it sounds like there's more overwhelming evidence to suggest that that didn't happen at all. So that's 1 out of the 5, which just gets the flick, basically, as far as I'm concerned. But again, that's my bias.
Extracted, they put 5 more bombs, 5 more JDAMs into the middle of the compound to wipe it out. So one of the boys said the only thing that was left in that what evidence, what crime scene analysis they're going to get? All that was left was burnt dirt.
It's probably...
Holy heck. I'd forgotten about that. They put 5 more JDAMs into their compound. So that just will obliterate everything and anything else. So again, beyond reasonable doubt, I don't know. So not only, sorry, I should have made clear, not only is it my bias, but it's also based on what I'm hearing here from what Scott Jones is describing anyway.
10 foot under rubble right now.
It is. Yeah. With a couple of bad dudes with AK-47s, RPGs, and whatever else they were shooting at 7RR with. So they were bad dudes. They weren't innocent people. And
congratulations, folks. We're at war. There are bad guys. You know, I heard last night, and I forgot to mention on my reel this morning, that they were saying, oh no, once the battle space has calmed down, you're not in a war zone anymore. Hey, dipshit. Every single time you go outside the wire, you are at war.
Who was that? Where is that person speaking, or where is that piece of the article? That's hard case. What when the battle calms down, you're no longer in a war zone. Oh, that's clearly from somebody who hasn't deployed overseas or been involved in anything.
Doesn't matter if it's at the end of the battle, the start of the battle, or you didn't even get in a battle.
Yeah.
When you go outside the wire, you're in war. When you are inside the wire, matter of fact, you are still at war.
Yep.
There are still elements that are trying to kill you that have infiltrated the Afghan National Army that are Taliban.
Your safe compound, your safe base of operations, if it's within the country, within wherein by you are fighting and going outside your compound to engage in and or kill or capture enemy threats and targets, that whole time you are in a war zone. Just because you've got an area that you've established as a defensive position or a base camp does not mean you are no longer in a war zone. You bloody retards. Not these guys. Whoever's gone and spouted those comments earlier that Sam was talking about, that I think you read or heard.
And soldiers. So when you are over in Afghanistan, you are at war.
Yeah.
So these bags of shit last night that tried to tell me that we are not at war when the gunfight has settled down, fuck you.
It's not a police situation where there's a containment line.
It's like we're not in the middle of Australia.
Nah.
We're over in Afghanistan.
I know definitely of 2 times where I left the enemy compound after we thought it's all over for extraction, and I got absolutely blasted by the Taliban. Machine gun fire, accurate, like lead wasps zipping by my head, my butt puckering, like almost got killed multiple times, but 2 of them was certainly from coming out of a compound thinking, oh, okay, that's it. Let's knock off, head back to the gym, get the Uber in, the helo to pick us up. And that's when we got blasted on extraction many times.
And that's why you would have put the 5 JTAC bombs into the compound after they're done.
Absolutely.
Because it happens to you once and you learn from it, right? You never let it happen again.
Yeah. And one of the dudes actually there on the day in Whiskey 108, one of the guys told me last night that he was actually shot in that compound years prior. So say in like 2008 on their first deployment, he's like, I actually remember this compound. The boys in this compound shot me last time.
Yeah, right.
And that is insane.
Yeah.
I don't think that's come out yet because he just told me, and I was even like, wow.
You know, there's just so many. I was on the phone a lot last week. So many stories that come out from this, and it's like, oh wow, that wasn't told during the defamation trial, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it is buried in some of the articles. You might look over these articles of Whiskey 108 and down in the fine print, it's like And also, Person 81 said none of this happened. But like, man, tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. You journalists and you get paid off clickbait and a headline, and that grabs people, and that means you get employed and you get a Walkley Award and you're an esteemed journalist. But there's obviously two sides to every story, and I'm not. I wouldn't be.
Well, there's certainly multiple sides to the story and to the stories or these allegations of war crimes. As I sit here and listen to Scott Jones, maybe he's going to elaborate on that a bit more. But yeah, it is a common phrase. I know I've said it a bunch of times, and I'll probably still say it, that there's two sides to every story. But as we listen to this, as I listen to this again, there's multiple sides to these allegations, which are hideous and serious allegations, particularly if they are true. Horrendous Lincoln actions if the execution of unarmed detainees did indeed take place based on the allegations. If those things did indeed take place, that is horrendous, because that's not what soldiers sign up for. I don't think anyway. Got to be careful. There may be some retards that do join the army to look to do stupid stuff like that. Maybe. I'm just glad to say I never encountered any of them. So that's where I'm coming from. And again, that bias of mine that I have towards soldiers, the friendship that I still consider that I have with RS, the person that I knew anyway, in terms of, even though RS and I never served in the same squadron, and we didn't deploy together, I felt like I had enough of an understanding of the guys that I was with, or the guys that I'd spent any time around, to go, man, these are good men. These are men that I would trust with my life. These are men that I would expect, one, wouldn't, when they were in a leadership position, issue unlawful commands, and two, would have the courage to not carry out an unlawful command. Reason that I say that, again, is because blooding rituals was just, I'd never even heard of that. Two, if these things were happening, I highly doubt that for RS or anybody else that they would have been exposed to such things as a blooding ritual. So I never heard about it during my time. It was never something that was even gave any sort of inkling to from any of my leaders during my time in the regiment. No time during cycle, no time during my time in the regiment, no time when deployed to Iraq, no time at any point with a whole bunch of other various trainings that we did in Australia, and yeah, just in and around the places that we did go and prepare for war, just in case of, like there just wasn't any of that sort of stuff. So the fact that from my time that there was none of that stuff, I don't see how and or where it starts to creep in, and or by soldiers that never had it done to them, all of a sudden just miraculously out of nowhere deciding to implement things that were just never spoken about, never done, never displayed by any of the senior directing staff or instructors or members of the unit that we had. I don't understand how that just manifests itself. It's not impossible, like something like that could happen, I suppose, but yeah, just seems strange to me. Like a large part when I've always spoken about selection and cycle is that I've always given the take that it's fair and reasonable. NZ, Australia, I would assume UK is as well, whereby the instructors, by and large, from what I've seen and what I've witnessed, they are not getting candidates to do anything that they haven't already done and or been through themselves. Otherwise it's not a fair and accurate or reasonable representation or expectation to to ask your candidates that are coming through the selection, particularly if you're the head instructor and running that thing, and or even if you're just one of the boys as the directing staff supporting the selection, to ask and get candidates to do things that you haven't done or that aren't within the sort of fair and reasonable scope of or parameters of what you should be getting and can get candidates to do during a selection course, if that makes sense. I never encountered that. And so hence why I've always been of the position that they are fair and reasonable. They're pragmatic about the selection courses. They are extremely well run. Selection is simple. It's just not easy. That's all. It is very simple in terms of its structure and what you should be doing, how you turn up, etc. But it's not easy. Okay, so the two very distinctive things there. It is simple, yes, but not easy. And it's not for everyone. Anyway.
Defending these boys if I thought they were doing the whole village and murdering innocent women and children and innocent people, but I've just told the story of what actually happened according to federal court documents happened at Whiskey 108 and why Ben's in jail for one of the murders. So there's a bit of speculation there. So let's go to Darwan.
Darwan was the
cliff incident.
The cliff. The cliff.
And I know a little bit more about this one because I was there probably not long after the cliff incident. I was standing at the cliff. And I can tell you right now, I'll send you the photos. Might do a little cheeky post on the gram. It wasn't a cliff. It was like a small hill. And that's where when I first read the article headlines, I was like, okay, here we go.
So it's live straight away.
It's sensationalism. Like I've got photos of the hill. They just on 60 Minutes last night showed the hill. It's not a cliff. And the videographer that went there is like, it was a sheer cliff. And I was standing there picturing, imagine someone getting kicked and flying down this cliff. Have you never been to the Gap in Sydney? Like, do you know what a cliff looks like? So it's not a cliff. It was like, imagine your front yard has a big slope out the front of it. This is where allegedly that incident took place. I was probably 100 meters off that, overlooking the compound in 2013. So we got sent back there. No reports of any cliff kicking incidents. Two commander got sent back to the exact same house to do a job in 2013. And I got the photos of it. And when I saw it on the news, I was like, I remember that compound. And it's in a place called Darwan, which is at the top of a valley called Shahidia SAS. And I know you're an Afghan linguist, but that means Valley of the Martyrs, where their best fighters live in Afghanistan. Valley of the Martyrs, Shahidia SAS.
Shahidia SAS, Valley of the Martyrs. There's a name for you, eh? And there's a place in terms of where the government, where your Special Operations Command is sending your operators from to Commando and or from SASR to that place. You're going to the Valley of the Martyrs to kill or capture some bad people that presumably come from that place. Sort of, you work that one out. Hemorrhoid head, you work that one out, mate.
And, imagine if we had a place here where we are in Sydney called Valley of the VC Winners, where all our military members retired to, and you wanted to go assault that?
I'd be like, yeah, no, thanks. I'm not looking to go and assault that place.
You'd have a hard time, right? Like these are where their best fighters are. I believe like many, many engagements happen in that valley. And we were there a lot. So first of all,
when he was talking about, imagine if you had in Australia Valley of the VC Winners and you get tasked. That's what I was talking about. Wouldn't want to go and assault that place, which is what he's talking about. You'd have a hard time. Valley of the Martyrs, when you're in a country that's in war and conflict and you're there, there's some wiring and programming that I suppose people that aren't in the military make a fair claim in terms of the government framing, in terms of the military and training, in terms of even the intelligence that you get to go into places like that. But for the operators that serve in a unit like that, who feel not only patriotic, who feel a deep connection to the brothers that they're serving with, and that they're going to go along and fight alongside because of the trust that's built, because of the friendship, camaraderie, etc., they're going to put up their hand and they're going to go. Just like the veterans of old, like they've gone up raised up out of the trenches and gone and assaulted towards enemy forces. They've stormed the beaches and the shores and various other conflicts, etc. Even to this day, like Western Coalition forces, push comes to shove, if there's more fighting and wars and stuff that need to happen, which will probably, unfortunately, will happen at some point, you'll get the same sort of responses, I think, from soldiers in the military that will be willing to risk it all, that will get up and fight, that will get up and move towards that danger at extremely high risk to themselves.
Everyone in that village in the Valley of the Martyrs is a bad dude. Is a bad dude.
Just like I said.
Yeah.
Dude, you go outside the wire, you are assuming everyone's a bad guy.
Yeah.
especially when they strap 15 kilos worth of to 13-year-olds and blow them sky high.
That's right.
They're all bad guys.
And I wasn't there for the cliff incident, and I'm not SAS. We're the tier 1 unit. They're the tier 2. Just for anyone listening. And so, we're
going to have a lot of people angry at you after this, mate.
Why are you defending these boys and ripping them? But I was there in an OP above the compound, the cliff compound where it happened, and I'm looking down, and the photo of it, I'm in the shade. I'm in a shadow, and that's because there's a rocky outcrop there, and I was literally hiding behind a rock. It was the first time I pretty much bitched out. It was towards the end of our deployment, and we're in that same village, and all the intelligence coming through. My interpreter is hiding in a ball next to me, and he took a photo of me, and he said, "They're going to kill us. They're looking at you. They're talking about you. Like, they can see your mullet." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, they're talking about you above the compound in the rocks. I'm on the ground. They're looking at you right now. They're about to kill you." And I start slowly, just like casually, not trying to show the boys I was scared, but scooching in behind a rock. And when he took the photo, I'm in a shadow, and I got my finger on the trigger, looking back at him. And it's the scaredest I've probably ever been in my life, honestly. And then, like, we've jumped out, nighttime, DZ 10,000 feet at night, MVG jumps, and that's confronting sometimes. But it was the first time I think I actually thought above Ali Jan's compound, I was about to die. I was about to get hit with a machine gun. And I was like, well, fuck, we better stay here. And everyone went to ground. And eventually the partner force was so scared that we fled. We didn't even go into the green belt. 2 commando called for the helos back, and we got the fuck out of there. And this is the alleged incident site where they're just Afghan villages, innocent Afghan villages.
That's interesting. Like, I don't remember, because I would have, when I did the live reaction to this, obviously, which has been pulled down or blocked from YouTube, I sort of remember bits and pieces. I remember him talking about being, fearing for his life and scooching in behind a rock, as you would do if you're getting that communication and information from your interpreter saying, "Hey, I can hear this chatter and they can see you," etc., etc. And sounds like they're giving an accurate description of what it is that they can see as they're speaking on their own frequency to each other and talking about what they're going to do. I didn't remember him talking about the two commando lads or the hierarchy. Again, similar to 7RAR, leadership is going to make a decision. Like, if there is more than meets the eye and they're not, things aren't matching up with the intelligence as much as they can, and if they feel that they're in a very compromised position, like, good call from whoever that leader was that called in for the Uber, for the choppers to come in and extract Scott Jones and his team out of that area, that they didn't go down and push down into that green belt, because who knows what could have been in there. Like, if this is the Valley of the Martyrs that has had coalition forces and or Australian troops and forces go into that place time and time again, you reckon they're going to be a bit better prepared little by little, or a little bit more each time? Probably. Probably, if they're refusing, like, that's one of their areas, dare I say, maybe one of their sacred grounds, so to speak. And if it's been raided several times already over different periods of time, and if they believe that their innocent farming civilians have been murdered there, they're likely going to be a little bit more prepared each and every time, and potentially, it could have ended up very, very bad for the commando unit that made the decision to withdraw. So, yeah, lots going on, man. Lots going on in terms of listening to, or what was going on the ground there, but also listening to Scott Jones describing some of the stuff and him seeing it, and it's a bit of a hill with a slope. I think I heard a water embankment was another description. But cliff, it doesn't sound like it's meeting the description of a cliff. Even in the transcript piece that I listened to from The Guardian, I think on YouTube, where they're asking and even questioning Ben Roberts-Smith about the cliff. Is like, "Oh, I wouldn't say it was a cliff." And some of the footage that I've seen, you can see a guy walking down, which is what I presume they describe as the cliff, because they still call it a cliff in their documentary that I'm currently reacting to, the Secrets of War 60 Minutes documentary. But at the same time, when they're filming that and calling it a cliff, they got old mate, a fella walking down it. And so I don't know what cliffs they are familiar with, but where I come from, a cliff, you can't just walk down it. So anyway, we'll leave this one here. Feel free to whack your thoughts, comments in the comment section. And as always, not sponsored by Waimānuka. Not looking to try to be sponsored by them either. Like I said, I'll gladly buy this product out of my own pocket when I'm able to. But the fact that it's one of the boys that I served in the military with here in NZ, it's gone out, has been out for a while, working things into existence and doing the great work that he's doing. There's some of the bottles there. I just finished this bottle. It's probably taken about, I'd say, 3 days for me to finish this bottle. Like, I'm not hammering them every single time or every day. Not even having them every single day, actually, to be fair. But it is delicious. Non-alcoholic sparkling beverage, premium brand here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. If you're in NZ, get some, support the brother, and help him on his journey. He's already doing fantastic, but every little bit helps, I reckon, anyway. So that being said, that's it for me on this one. Look after yourself. Stay awesome. Thank you for your time and support, as always. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep taking one day at a time. Keep staying in the fight and keep turning up, no matter how hard, difficult, challenging things may be. The sun will shine again. Better days are ahead, and they are always closer than you think. And there is a light at the end of that long, dark, and seemingly lonely and miserable tunnel. So just stick at it. As always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there is a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.